Hello, everyone. Market conditions currently bullish in a bull market. I'm going to spend just a couple minutes on this, just explaining this overall process for those of you that are new and just joining us. We look for a top-down approach where we're looking for what's the overall direction of the market. And we use this long-term indicator here where we're looking for two things. We're looking for direction of the trend and we're looking for extension of the trend. How far are we into the trend and what direction are we moving within that overall trend? When we get a new signal, we get a crossover here. So in this last bear market, we had this move essentially a year ago, October at the lows, we were at the extreme point all the way up here. And so once we knew we have this extreme level, that creates just a higher probability that that direction is not going to continue to move higher. Sorry, that pattern would have been right here, right at the bottom of this market. This bottom chart is a 20-year chart, the S&P 500. This top chart is just a 1-year chart of the chart on the bottom. So it's about this chunk right here. So we're seeing, sorry, we're actually, let me just move that over just a little bit. So this is about a 1-year time frame. So the bottom of the trend here, as that trend starts to work its way back up and then ultimately crosses back up into this bullish trend, that's when that arrow is signaled. So you can see it's a momentum indicator, but we do have, as we watch for these extremes, we can see where the probabilities are starting to shift. And you can see here we started to flatten out at this top and starting to move back down again. So our overall market direction, we're in a bullish uptrend still, but we're retracing some of that uptrend by working through this counter trend move. You can see this uptrend and then this little pullback. So now from there, we know that we're in a pullback in this overall uptrend, and now we're looking for, and that puts us in a bullish state. The bullish part of this is the shorter term signal. The bull market part of this is this upper trend. So we simply look and say, what direction is the overall market? Is it moving higher? Yes. And we know that it's in a pullback of that overall move higher. Then we can zoom in essentially in this smaller chart time frame right here and look at this pattern. So here's our S&P 500 moving higher, retracing, finding all of this support level, and now continuing this overall direction higher. We can then supplement that with some of the additional indicators that we cover here in just a minute. But these shorter term indicators, then we have three parts to this. We have sentiment, we have breadth, and we have momentum. The sentiment is essentially what is what is everyone thinking is going to happen, and the red line is the momentum, what is actually happening on price activity, and then the breadth is actually what is happening on some of the internals. How many stocks, how many companies are participating in this current move higher? And we can use these three together to supplement the overall direction, signal our long-term perspective, and then try and look for a little bit earlier entry locations for buying and selling. So current market conditions, we obviously know that we're in this uptrend. We had a big spike up in positive sentiment. We also had this big run up, this big spike in momentum. So we also want to look at the edges, is what I call those, and that's down here and up here. What's happening when we get to these areas, and then what's happening in the middle. We get these trending zones in the middle. We get reversal zones at the top. So current market conditions, again, that's adding to the story, the overall story that we're looking for. What's happening in the overall market direction? What are happening on some of the internals? And then from there, we can also then go in and look at additional internals like the buy-sell ratio. The buy-sell ratio had a real big spike. It was really wide right here. So this essentially means that we have a lot more sellers in the system, a lot more stocks in downtrends. And here we have, as that widens out, you can see it starts to reach a range that becomes unsustainable. When we get those unsustainable moves, we typically get a snapback one direction or the other. In this case, most of the time it's been off of a bottom and then moving higher. But there are times where we do get these big market rallies and we get things extended. Once they start to move back together again, and then they ultimately cross over, then that's when we get a buy-sell ratio down here of 1. Okay, oops, let me go back here. So then if I mouse over this, you got 0.82, 0.122. So this rally that we've had recently took off really quick, put us into a buy-sell ratio of 1, and then this counter trend that we're working through right now actually has put us back less than 1. So we're still kind of at this, kind of a consolidation phase, and we're right at this point right now where we tick back up again, just having some shorter term volatility in S&P, really in the markets as a whole, as we had that rally so fast, and now we've had a week really of consolidation. And then our sentiment here, we also look for this for the edge locations, what's happening at the tops and bottoms, and then what's happening in the middle. So once you get a bounce off of a direction, it starts to move that way, that can add to that overall bias of what is the market doing, what direction should I be focused on. And then from there you can drill down and say, well, let's look at some individual sectors. So what am I getting additional confirmation on sectors? Currently the sector list looks like this, and I focus on this column right here. So most of the time when we have good, strong, healthy markets, all of these are buy, all of these are in uptrends. So you can see we've got about half and half right now, half in buys, half in holds, and then a few in sells here. We're seeing energy pull back, healthcare's pull back. We know that energy is pulled back because we've seen oil start to pull back. We'll actually look at that chart pattern here as well, which actually, while it's on my mind, let me jump back here and go to sentiment and go down here to crude oil. And you can see crude oil is right here at this bottom location. A possible reversal location with this bounce inside of this sentiment zone. We can also look at the overall chart pattern on USO. So here on this sectors tab, we can go here, go to sectors, and the next one over is commodities, and take a look at oil. We know that oil has been retracing. It's moved outside of that momentum zone, which is this upper zone, and now it's working on this corrective zone. So now it's working on a location where if it's going to turn and bounce and move back the other direction, these are areas, this is a location, a high probability location that could happen. So we get a three-part counter trend. We have a swing low, we have a swing high, we have a trend direction. Trend direction is this way, counter trend direction is this way. Here's our support area inside that 50% 618 buy zone box, starting to find some support. And then we also have this extreme. It's moved too far this direction. It can certainly move more this direction, but it's at an extreme. It's inside of this lower range where the probabilities now are starting to shift back to a demand zone where we find some support and then some potential back more for that upside right there. So a couple of quick ways just to, how long are we into this video? 7 minutes now, and we've looked at what market conditions are, what are the sectors doing, a couple of different commodities to consider, and some of the biases in terms of buy-sell ratio and the sentiment analysis. And from there, we can also drill down even further and say, well, what sectors are working? What sectors are leading? We know that construction is working. Well, what stocks inside of that construction group are leading? We can go here. We've got MTPI, which has been moving up really nicely here up in this momentum zone, and it's continuing that overall trend as it now is snapped to a new high. So when we looking at this time frame, we've got a 6-month time frame. It's snapping to that time frame. Whatever the trend is on that time frame, it's going to grab the low point and the high point. And if that is the low point is here and the high point is there, that's the direction that we want to be moving. And then we're in this upper zone, this upper momentum zone. Now this is the place we want to play. We want to allow the stock, enough volatility inside of this range. Once it starts to move back below this range, then we can either set a stop loss, we can get out of the trade, we can manage the trade differently once we start to break that direction. But in terms of momentum trends and trend following type of analysis, which is the primary strategy of what we focus on, we're looking for momentum, the path of least resistance. Once it starts to move higher and it's just clear sailing to the upside, you get additional buying. You don't have an overhead supply of demand, overhead supply of sellers that are looking to jump into the market. So MTI. So currently, this may be it's not extreme because we've had a couple days, even though that was a nice move to the upside. Some of these other stocks like Beezer, a lot of these had been really extreme, really fast. They popped here. That's the first entry buy signal, rallied, consolidating now in this upper zone and looking for some continuation. It moved pretty quickly to that upside and may need a day or two to pull back inside of this buy zone. So often this slider bar, you'll see it move up and then it'll move back this direction. It'll move up to extreme and then back into the buy zone. If it starts to shift and move back into this zone here, then we know that we're working with a downtrend at that point and we're not as interested in trying to buy here, trying to buy here, trying to buy here, trying to buy here. Let's wait for a little confirmation as it's starting to turn, and that gives us a little more. Then we're working with the trend instead of trying to fight the overall trend. And it's just a quick visual way to look at what's working in the market, what sectors are working in the market, then what stocks are working in that market. A lot of these are home builders, Pulte, KB. So we also have the Muscle Stocks tab, which you can click on here and say, okay, here's my new buy list. Let's look at the new buy list. That's going to pull every stock in any sector that is currently working that's above a rank of 98. Actually, I believe it's 70. We pull in a whole bunch of lists here that goes all the way down. So sometimes that, when we get a market shift, that'll start to fill up pretty quickly. And then you can rank that. You can look for opportunities by looking at the overall rank currently in the market. So currently we've got CBay, which has been that's been a stock that's worked well. Over this last year, it's gone, $3 or $4 to $17, $18 with a couple of pullbacks along the way. So it's starting to find some strength, starting to find some momentum, getting back up into this momentum zone now, again, where we've got our overall signal is up. We've got the short-term trend that is up, and we have the long-term trend that is up. And we're also in an upper momentum zone and continuing to move that direction with the first bar, the first buy signal after a hold signal. Okay, so that's what it's looking for. It's looking for a stock that's moved essentially from yellow back to green, and that's going to pull in these stocks. So that's CBay is the top one of the list today. We go through then. We can also sort through these just by grabbing the scan here and then sorting through the list. CAMT, this has also been a nice stock throughout the year. You can see just from June, let's go out to that 1 year time frame. From 20 to 60 with a couple of pullbacks along the way is now starting to work its way back. And that upper momentum zone hasn't made a new high on this time frame yet, but is certainly building up some momentum. We've got some oil stocks that are still in here. Even though we've had a decent pullback in oil, we are seeing some continued strength in oil, which is not unexpected. You'll also see stocks that pull in a pattern like this, where it is a new buy signal in a pretty sharp downtrend, and those can sometimes be opportunities here, kind of like that Beazer Home chart pattern, where it may be early in the trend, it's finally bottomed out, had a first confirmation move higher, kind of paused, gone from that sell trend to that intermediate no trend to an uptrend. And it's got some work to do, obviously, but that could be early stages of a new uptrend. For me, these are not ideal patterns. I prefer to see a stock that's been moving this direction, but it's got to start somewhere, right? It's got to start at a bottom somewhere. And so as that pattern has retraced and cleared out all of the remaining sellers that may be in that, and then create some new demand as it's starting to work higher. That'll do it for today's update. If you don't have full access to the site and software, you can sign up with the link below, and we look forward to having you. Have a great day today.